The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off.
Feelings don't matter, so brace yourself tight. He'll lay it down heavy, he'll light up the night. No sugar-coated tales, just cold hard facts. In the realm of opinions, there's no turning back. Listen closer, just walk away. But Aaron had to say it, come what may. Here comes Aaron with the truth untold. No holding back, watch the truth unfold. On the podcast, airways feel the righteous sting. You either take it in or let the silence ring.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. So we're going to start it as we do by saying to Iceman, Jason, Mike, Tabby, Javier, Fitz, McShane, El Jefe, El Devlin, El Morte, through the guys of the Weather Report, to Billy G, and to Walt from the Be Raw Podcast, and to Kate, the Duchess of New Jersey. Thank you guys for your support. It means the world to me. Every little bit just reminds me that there are people out there that care about what I do and want to hear what I have to say, and I love you all dearly for it. All right, so pretty much every week I sit down and I say to myself, this week I'm not going to sit here and bag on the lefts and their generally stupid fucking existence. And every week it feels like we're just here, we're more of the same old, because every week these motherfuckers just come out with some of the stupidest fucking takes on the planet. And the utterly just pathetic and inept and ridiculous way they go about these things. I honestly don't understand how they think they could still be, relevant even at this point, to be honest. I mean, just the absolute disconnect from reality, the thoroughly unhinged entitlement coming out of most of these whiny fucking cunts that realistically, I mean, I don't know how to say this without sounding too, nut jobby, but they're like, everything they believe in is antithetical to the country that allows them to hold these stupid fucking beliefs in the first place. And it's like they don't even understand the degree, like, the entitlement makes me sick. The fucking degree of intolerance for anyone who's not as ideologically pure as they think they should be. The fact that they think they're way more important than they are. I mean, there's, like I said, it's just this retarded sense of entitlement and utterly ridiculous disconnect from reality that makes these stupid motherfuckers think they're somehow important or special. And the left is very, very bad at reading the fucking room. And I'm thinking in particular of the case of one Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Now, unless you're living under a fucking rock, I'm sure you've heard the name, or at least you know the story. This is a MS-13 gang member. And if you listen to any of the mainstream media, which is at this point just the mouthpiece of the left and an utterly pathetic dying beast, as it should be, because they have completely annihilated any modicum of credibility they might have had, and as the more they get exposed, the less they seem to realize they're fucking exposed, and they just keep doubling down on the same old bullshit. They keep on repeating the leftist bullshit. They are bought and paid for. They are fucking utterly worthless in terms of news. They're just a media outlet. They are a fucking propaganda machine, and it is what it is. But anyway, what this fucking guy is he is an illegal alien that was in the United States. And he was here, and he was standing under not one but two deportation orders. He filed an appeal and was basically saying he couldn't be sent back to El Salvador, where he's from, because if he was sent back, he would be killed by, get this, a rival gang. Now, the first thing that brings to the fact is you can't have a rival gang that wants to kill you unless you're in a gang yourself. Now, he happens to be a gang member of the MS-13 gang, which is a notoriously violent cartel that commits all sorts of heinous fucking acts, and getting past the drug narco thing that everybody automatically assumes and automatically envisions in this country when you say somebody's a cartel member or a gang member. The MS-13 cartel is a bunch of violent, drug-dealing human trafficking motherfuckers. They are not good people. They are not, guys that are just doing what they had to do to provide for their families or whatever other horse shit narrative people are going to try and spin to try and make this asshole look like he's not a piece of shit. But he is a piece of shit. But immediately, once this motherfucker gets deported, somehow the left finds this prick's name and latches onto it like he's this fucking altar boy. They start painting him as a Maryland father, Maryland dad. And yeah, you know why? Because he was illegally residing in fucking Maryland. And he got his first deportation order in 2019. And somewhere in the span between here and there, he managed to knock up some broad and now has like a 4.5 or 5-year-old kid. So Maryland father gets mistakenly deported. Well, he wasn't fucking mistakenly deported. He was deported because he was under a standing deportation order. He was in the country fucking legally. And watching the way the Trump administration has been handling it, this case somehow went up to the Supreme Court where they're saying, okay, well, he needs to facilitate this guy's return. Now, that's one of the first things that I have a problem with the way the left and the mainstream media have been handling these things. Saying he needs to facilitate the return does not mean he needs to fucking force the return. One of these things these leftist assholes don't seem to understand is the United States, for all its faults and all its flaws, doesn't actually have the authority to tell other sovereign nations how to run their fucking countries. This guy is an El Salvadorian citizen. He is currently in El Salvadorian custody. And as such, we don't have any right to tell the president of El Salvador he's got to give him fucking back. That's the first problem these morons don't seem to grasp, is we don't have that authority. For us to go in there and try and force him to turn this guy back over or to send him back to the United States would be tantamount to kidnapping, because you're violating the sovereignty of another nation that has decided this prick does not deserve to be out on the streets. And the threat that he's under of death from a rival gang is no longer a valid threat because the president of El Salvador has cleaned up all the fucking gangs and made El Salvador into what is more or less a tropical paradise for anyone who wants to go there because it's safe and you can go there without having to worry about your life or your well-being. But ultimately, and apparently before it became too apparent as to what a piece of shit this guy actually was, this is the person the left has decided to rally around. And we get a fucking senator from Maryland saying he's going to go down there to get his constituent back. Problem with that being it wasn't his constituent. And at first when he got down there, they didn't want to give him the time of day. And finally they said, well, look, since you're here on the taxpayer dime, I suppose this counts as a trip of state. We'll let you see the guy, see he's fine. He's not being tortured. He's not being harassed. He had a little meet up with this guy, and then all of a sudden, this apparently emboldened the left. And all of a sudden you got like 4 more Congress people that decide they're going to fly down to El Salvador, and they're just grandstanding. And now Congress has decided they're not footing the bill for this. They have to pay for it themselves if they want to go. And they're down there posturing and grandstanding and saying they're not going to leave until he's released back to the United States and a bunch of other ridiculous shit. Personally, I'm actually fine with the idea of leftist assholes not being in the country. So you stay down there by all fucking means. I hope Jesus comes back before that motherfucker gets out of prison and gets released into your custody to come back home. Because he is home. He doesn't get to come back here. He's not a United States citizen. If his wife and his kid are that important, they can go live in El Salvador so they can be close to him. Nothing's stopping them from leaving. But ultimately, the more time we look at it, the more details that come out. This fucking piece of shit, who of course is also subject to all these standard moves that the left likes to make anytime they try and make a martyr out of somebody. There's a GoFundMe to support his wife and kid and blah, 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 blah. And his wife's doing the talk show circuit and talking to people and obviously being fed scripted answers to what was supposed to be scripted questions, because the one time that somebody goes off script, she just locks up and doesn't have an answer. And that was, honestly enough, oddly enough, Michael Strahan asked her why she had a restraining order against her husband, who, her boyfriend or what, baby daddy, whatever the fuck he is. And, then she froze up, because the simple fact of the matter is, yeah, she did have a restraining order of protection against this motherfucker because he beat the shit out of her a couple of times. And frankly, it would, if they do manage to get this piece of shit back in the States, it would be ironic justice if he actually beat her to death when he got back, just so they could all try and, spin their wheels and deny that he was a horrible piece of shit that should have been where they left him. But I digress. I don't want to actively wish death on somebody just for deciding to suck the wrong dick. But at the end of the day, she's definitely not hesitating about trying to capitalize on him being a public piece of shit and a piece of shit in the public eye. Now, with the exception of a few moronic individuals like the Gen Z Democrat fuckstain from Florida and a couple other dumb shits that I've never heard of prior to now, it seems like a lot of the left is kind of trying to distance themselves from this, because right after the fuckstick from Maryland got down there, Trump's administration released all the fucking paperwork on this guy. The Maryland sheriff who served this guy with the fucking restraining order came forward and said, he's a verified 1,000% an MS-13 member. He is a gangbanger. He's an illegal. He's a piece of shit, and he's not supposed to be here. The Trump administration released all the court paperwork saying that he had been found subject to deportation twice, that he lost his appeal, that he had no legal cause to stay here. And the thing that really gets me about this, other than the fact that these leftist pieces of shit are so just determined to fight tooth and nail for the rights of an illegal alien, trying to say he didn't receive his due process, even though he had multiple court hearings. So he received his due process, you retarded motherfuckers. There's no, he deserves due process. He had due process. You dipshits are grandstanding in ignorance. The media eats it up because they are also fucking ignorant. They are stupid sons of bitches and just worthless sacks of shit. But they, parrot whatever you tell them to because that's where the checks are coming from. It's coming out. These are all, Soros-funded judges are fighting the deportation orders, and it's these globalist pieces of shit that are in their death throes because the WEF came out and said it before Trump got elected that if Trump got back in office, it would be the death of the globalist movement and the New World Order, and hopefully that's what we're seeing is the death throes of a fucking horseshit one world order bullshit plan. And and it was semi-related news. Klaus Schwab stepped down officially as the head of the WEF, effective immediately. That announcement came out today, along with the announcement that the Pope died. And I'm going to talk about that very briefly because as a, someone who spent enough time in the Catholic Church and was an altar boy and everything else, I would just like to say, fuck that guy. I hope Satan is jamming a pitchfork up his ass sideways right now. He was not a good Pope. He was not a good religious leader. He was a globalist piece of shit commie fuckstain who was an utter hypocrite, just like every other elitist, globalist, commie piece of shit fuckstain out there. He lived in a private city surrounded by walls in riches, the likes of which your modern man will never know, or most of us anyway, and, had his own private army to protect him and keep him safe, and he wanted to lecture the rest of the world about people that needed to be disarmed and deportations were immoral and elemental P people deserve to be acknowledged and blah, 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 and, did nothing to, do anything about all the pedophiles in the Catholic Church or any of the other shit that could have actually proven he was a decent human being. Instead, he was just a very posturing globalist sack of shit, and frankly, I'm glad he's fucking dead. Does that make me a bad person? Maybe it does a little bit, but I'm beyond the point of giving a fuck. And so, judge me if you will. I honestly, I don't care at this point. It really doesn't matter to me. It's fucking retarded. If you're living your life based on somebody whose ideals don't align with you just because of whose team they claim to play for, you're a fucking failure as a human being. And I really don't feel the need to explain that to you because it's pretty fucking straightforward. Not that I think any of my normal listeners are doing that. And if you happen to find your way here and that just sets your hair in a fucking tizzy and got your panties in a fucking knot, well, you know what? Feel free to hop along and don't ever come back. I don't care. Me and my tens of loyal listeners will be fine without you. And again, this is, like I said, I never sit down with the intention of bagging on leftists, but it's just so consistent. They're so fucking pathetic and so fucking stupid. And it irritates me. It vexes me. It bothers me. The fact that, I was much happier when it was just sort of complaining about general stupidity. Like when I first started this show, granted, we were in the 2020 election season and I was bitching about Trump a lot and I was bitching about Biden a lot because Biden was fucking worthless, even though I wasn't a fan of Trump at the time either. I damn sure wasn't a fan of Biden. I don't believe that the 2020 election was legitimate, despite the fact that I wouldn't have voted for Trump if he would have paid me in 2020. I was extremely dissatisfied with his performance in his first term of office. I was not happy with the way he handled COVID. I thought he surrounded himself with bad people. I thought his team was not acceptable. I thought he had all kinds of shortcomings and failings that his own fucking ego wouldn't allow him to see past. And honestly, I still feel that way. In a lot of ways, I feel I was right about how he was during Trump 1.0. Trump 2.0 came in strong. I've been extremely disappointed with the results thus far. Can't lay that entirely on the orange bastard. A lot of it has to do with fucking corrupt, entrenched bureaucratic bullshit between the, Democrat-appointed lifetime appointment activist judges who are trying to fucking override the presidency from their little district judge seats, which I think is utterly fucking retarded. But on the other side of that coin, we have the slim majority of the fucking GOP in Congress refusing to do anything about these activist judges other than to just let them keep going and keep going and keep going. And it's like they can't be seen to be actively opposing Trump because they would lose their support in their reelection bids, because they're at least savvy enough to realize the American people are fed the fuck up. However, they can, not do jack shit because they've only been out of the last, 100, or out of Trump's first 100 days in office. Congress has only been in session fucking 25 days out of the last 100. So, I mean, it's not like they're actually fucking working. And I mean, they're worthless. The entire system's broken. I really don't think there's going to be I don't think an election is going to fix it. The movement has really good ideas, but there's no enforcement of it coming from the system that's in place. They work to protect their own. They fucking act in their own best interests. And at the end of the day, they'll give lip service to saying they're going to do what the people want, but the people aren't getting what they want. The people are getting a lot of fucking unfulfilled promises at this point. After tooth and nail appointments to get people where we wanted them to be, nothing comes of it. And, I've been one who's been saying, let Bongino and Patel, it takes time to build cases, particularly when you're dealing with an entrenched horseshit system that has had years to game the evidence, to fucking rig the fucking courts, to fucking rig the policies. I mean, you're talking an entrenched deep state monster. You got to be patient with them. If they're going to gut it, they got to do it right. But at the same time, it's really frustrating to see, not one single fucking corrupt-ass politician being perp-walked. Not one corrupt bureaucrat facing charges for knowingly defrauding the fucking American public. Doge comes through and exposes all kinds of corruption and waste and fucking fraud. And yeah, that's great. It's been exposed, but it's utterly fucking meaningless without some sort of prosecution following. Nobody's in jail. Nobody's being held accountable for these problems. Nobody's paying a price. There is no penalty. If there's no penalties, there's no incentive to stop the shitty fucking behavior, which is a concept people apparently forgot how to put into practice, how to implement things like consequences for doing something wrong, whether it be illegal or morally incorrect or any of the other shit. In a lot of ways, our culture and our society has lost its way in terms of there's no reason to do good when there's no consequences for doing badly. And it goes, little toddlers will show you that thing. If you don't yell at them for doing something wrong, they're going to keep fucking doing it if it makes them happy. And in a toddler, you can at least accept that they know it's wrong. In an adult, you can accept that they're doing it out of purely selfish motivation because they know they can. And like I said, as of right now, the current administration has been laughably ineffective at getting anything fucking done. I mean, yeah, we've got a couple 100,000 illegals deported. That leaves us with 19 million left to fucking go. So it's going to be really hard to unfuck the last 4 years and the last fucking 4 decades prior to that, but when things really just started going to shit because we let these entrenched parasites just continue to enrich themselves and to dig themselves in deeper. And they're like fucking ticks. They're bloated and they're fat, but they're so bored in there, unless you fucking pull the head off with a pair of tweezers, you're never going to get rid of these fuck stains. And you've got all these leftist yammering heads and fucking ideologues out there going around stomping, trying to, Trump man bad, tariff man bad, taxes are bad for people are bad. things that we can, if you get us back in office, we'll make things more better. At least, the ones that at least have a little bit of reality still seeping in around the corners, where they realize their stances are not popular and they need to try and blame all their fucking failures on Trump. Like my jelly-filled fuck muppet of a governor that keeps trying to badmouth, oh, well, tariffs are a tax on the working class. And Meanwhile, we have one of the highest tax burdens in the country. I think we might actually be higher than California at this point, or if not, we're right behind them. This fat jelly-filled fuck has added like $6 billion in tax burden to the state since he's taken over the office. And this, businesses are leaving writ large. We have a net population loss. The jewel of the state of Chicago is just turning into a desolate ghost town shithole that's infested with fucking illegal gangbangers and a fucking dipshit mayor with a 6.6% approval rating who still refuses to, do anything like expect people to be held accountable for crime and poverty and poor standards of living and all the other horse shit that are direct results of Democrat policies. And you want to take a prime example. We had fairly decent weather over the weekend. With the Easter weekend and the holy holiday and all this other shit. And we also had like 47 shootings this fucking weekend. So, Chicago's starting to warm up. It's going to be a fun summer. That's another one of those reasons why I won't go anywhere near that city unless I absolutely fucking have to. And you better believe I'm fucking strapped when I go. Which they're also trying to, take away from us because you can't have a shitty dictator that, tin pot fat fuck running the place if he thinks people are actually going to be able to stand up to him. So, disarm the law-abiding citizens, let the criminals out on fucking recognizance bonds when they're fucking waiting for their trial for fucking attempted murder. But, we don't want to actually keep them in fucking prison. Because that would be wrong or discriminatory or whatever other horseshit liberal, weak-minded motherfuckers want to say it is, that allows them to justify things like the Safety Act, which, disarms citizens and fucking, punishes you for being a good person and rewards criminals for being pieces of shit. Because at the end of the day, that's what these assholes need to maintain their stranglehold on power, is they need the pieces of shit to be emboldened to continue to make the normal, decent, law-abiding citizens afraid. Because that's what they capitalize on. They don't really bring anything to the actual table other than, control and fear-mongering. And they're worthless sacks of shit, and I hate them all. Let's see, now to pivot abruptly, we are going to talk about one other thing real quick. I wanted to touch on the fact that, I'm trying to think of a way to say this is not going to get me pissed off right through the gate. Bezos still has his rocket ship company, Dollar Tree fucking Elon Musk over there. They pulled off a publicity stunt sham bullshit. Looks like a dick, fired it off into space. And I talked about that a little bit last week, right? So the after effects of that pathetic excuse for a fucking publicity stunt have been pretty entertaining to me. We've got fucking worthless ass Gail King out here, trying to act like people are disrespecting her by not acknowledging that she's an astronaut now. And we've got Katy Perry's stupid fucking ass out here talking about, oh, I'm in touch with the divine feminine and people are just, we unified, the world was unified behind us because, and it's like, you delusional fucking irrelevant fucking sacks of tits. Nobody thinks you're being disrespected by calling you an astronaut. You're not a fucking astronaut. You were cargo. I said it last week. I'll say it again. You basically accomplished what a monkey did in 1960 fucking 1. You got strapped into a rocket, got shot in the air, went into suborbital altitudes. I mean, yes, you were on the very, very fucking taint of fucking space. But you didn't go high enough where you were outside of, the Earth's gravitational pull. Nobody had to steer the ship to bring you back. You were on a big arc, then you drifted down, and that's if you're, not buying into the whole it was all a staged bullshit. But at the end of the day, you got these worthless sacks of tits out here just running their fucking yaps, and they're not even good as a distraction. I mean, nobody fucking cares, and the very few sad motherfuckers that are trying to bring attention to this are just, they're so out of touch with reality. Nobody cares. You're not important. You're not changing the world. The world wasn't unified behind you. Nobody gave a shit. I mean, for fuck's sakes, Bezos couldn't even get good celebrities. He got a washed-up pop singer and a bunch of fucking rich cunts. I hate this timeline in so many fucking ways. And then little last minute thing here as I'm doing my Monday night slap this together horse shit. We had another set of accusations coming out saying Pete Hegseth has a separate signal chat, and he was talking about it's with his wife, and they were talking about details of the war on there, according to insiders. And once again, the mainstream media apparently completely oblivious to the fact that they have lost any and all fucking credibility with the vast majority of this fucking country because of shit like reporting verifiable lies, very easily disproven things as fact, and the constant and ever popular, according to anonymous sources, followed by whatever blatant horseshit lie they feel like spinning at the time. Nobody cares. And to be fair, it even was at the point where like NPR released a statement saying the White House is scrambling to find a replacement for Hegseth, followed immediately by a statement directly from the press secretary at the White House saying, no, we're not doing anything. Pete's not going anywhere. This is horseshit. This is fake news. You are reporting lies based on anonymous insider information. And Hegseth himself came right out and said, gee, I fire 3 people and all of a sudden anonymous sources say I'm doing all these things wrong. Newsflash, it's not happening. We're not going anywhere. Meanwhile, he's also calling out how all these people are trying to, people, huge bastions and supporters of DEI and all this other horse shit in the military that is no longer going to cut it under his watch. He wants things back, no preferential treatment. You want to be under a certain MOS, you need to pass the physical standards for that. No more fat fucking commanding officers. That would be phenomenal. And there's so many of these fucking broads that are in different positions that definitely never would have passed a physical fitness test. And that's coming from a fucking technically morbidly obese individual who's pretty sure he could outperform any of these worthless military bitches who did not get their positions based on merit. You can tell just by the way they carry themselves. They're DEI hires in the worst sense of the word. The ones who refuse to put the pictures of the chain of command up in their fucking stations that they're supposed to be in charge of. That's literally a dereliction of duty. You're not supposed to be political if you're in the military service. You are beholden to the chief executive officer as the commander-in-chief of the United States military forces. Your personal feelings about the guy are fucking irrelevant if you're there to do the job. That's how it fucking works. So, anyway, it was just a little side thought, last minute thing here. Hegseth handled it perfectly. Trump and the White House have said, no, we're going with Pete. And the same bunch of worthless fucking sacks of tits that were trying to keep him from getting appointed in the first place, the same Democratic shitbirds that were, staunchly opposed to his nomination in the first place, are now calling for his resignation or termination again, as if anybody gives a fuck what they have to say about it. Nobody cares what Chuck Schumer thinks about it. Nobody cares what fucking Adam Schiff thinks about it. Nobody cares what Ted Lieu thinks about it. Nobody cares what any of these fucking blue assholes have to say about the matter. When you were silent for the last 4 years of fucking pathetic failures after pathetic failure and completely unqualified appointments who only ticked a fucking box and that's the only reason they got their jobs, if you were silent during that, you don't get to criticize somebody who's actually doing the job. Recruitment numbers are up. Morale is up under the current head of the fucking Department of Defense. So you really don't have a fucking leg to stand on. You are pathetic. You make the country weak. You are bad for America. Shut the fuck up. Oh, and speaking of bad for America, my least favorite politician, I think, that is still currently holding a seat, fucking Jamie Raskin, who's an utterly just contemptible piece of shit. Even though he's a high-ranking Democrat, he's a high-ranking Democrat because he's an utterly contemptible piece of shit. He's the motherfucker that they come trotting out when they want him to tell a lie that's so fucking big that nobody with any kind of, realistic grasp on reality can say it. When they got lies that are too big for fucking Adam Schiff to be the fucking mouthpiece for it, they trot out rat shit. This worthless motherfucker's out here literally violating the chain of authority in the country and God, my brain is fried. I can't think of the act that it's a Logan Act. This motherfucker is out here telling foreign powers if they cooperate with Trump, when we get back in power, it won't go well for you. This motherfucker should be fucking impeached, thrown out of office, and put in fucking prison. He's committing treasonous acts. I hate that little weaselly fuck, and he needs to go to jail. There need to be consequences. If we don't see heads starting to roll in the next 6 weeks, I'm telling you, it just proves that nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. We're going to be right back to the same bullshit. And the Democrats seem bound and determined to fucking make sure they don't win an election for another 25 fucking years. They got AOC and fucking Jasmine Crockett as their current frontrunners for the next political or presidential race. It's literally the right's race to lose at this point. I was saying if we don't get some fucking results by midterms, things could go badly. But because people have the attention span of goldfishes and they're fucking stupid. They don't have long-term thinking capabilities, and that's deliberate. That's a product of public school education. But ultimately, I don't even think we've got that long at this point. If some shit does not start happening soon, the American people are already showing fucking battle fatigue on this shit. It's like we worked so hard to get this shit in place, and all of a sudden nothing's happening because you worthless sacks of shit are stymieing things, and the Republicans are doing what they do best. They're sitting on their fucking thumb, waiting and writing strongly written letters, but not actually doing a fucking thing to actually fight for what the people want. And the people are getting disheartened rapidly. If we don't start seeing some actual fucking impact, I don't know what'll come next. I mean, we've got leftists out here literally calling for violence. Some fucking dipshit, rainbow flagging bio asshole doctoral candidate, apparently. Or maybe it was a doctor of law. I can't remember, lawyer. Some dipshit who's in like a post-secondary career posted an article and a link to an article on social media saying that when is the time where we have to start killing? Is political violence is never preferable, but sometimes it's the only option. And when do we start killing people? Just leftist retard, once again, calling for violence, but definitely not the kind of person who could actually see himself committing that violence. And I've talked about it so many times. That is the biggest failing as far as left goes, because all of them are more than willing to use violence to get what their ends of their means, but most of them don't actually see themselves partaking. I mean, they have the crazy off the deep end lefty motherfuckers that keep snapping, and all the trans violence because you're already mentally unwell if you're trans, and if they tell you your existence is in jeopardy, you're probably more inclined to do something fucking stupid to enact it. But in terms of like coordinated mass scale violence, I don't think they have it in them because they all envision someone else doing the fucking dirty lifting. Just them kind of rallying the troops and, we're here for emotional support. Rah, rah, go team, kill them evil, bigoted motherfuckers. Oh, no, I can't actually kill them. I'm a creative. I'm an intellectual. It's kind of actually how the fucking color revolution in China happened. All the intellectuals were the ones supporting all the horseshit until all the fucking bloodshed was over. And then they were no longer useful and the government fucking killed them. But these morons don't, pay attention to history, so they're going to wind up reaping the rewards of that shit on the off chance they win. But I don't want to dwell on those things. I'm done. Thanks for listening to another episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a rating. Go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list, interact with the show. Click the links, sign up for the Patreon, join the Discord. Come and interact, be a part of the show. Buy the merch, support your favorite creator. Or support me. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.